So let's plot some points. I downloaded this picture from Google Images. You guys could find it too if you want to use it to help you graph points or what have you. In this example, let's plot points, the point 2, 4, 3 to start with, and the point 3, -1, -4 to start with. I want to show you the kind of the harder way to do it freehand first, and then I'll use this kind of graph paper that I have. So if I'm doing this freehand, which a lot of you will choose to do, say I want to plot the point 2, 4, 3. I notice that all the coordinates are positive. So you could kind of just draw the positive x, positive y, positive z. You'll see me do this a lot when everything's positive, when all the coordinates are positive. I'll just draw maybe something that looks like this. And all I need to really do is make sure I keep the correct orientation. So oftentimes I make the x-axis the axis kind of coming out of the screen and not going parallel with the screen or in the screen. And so what do? Well, I go out a distance of 2. So let me put in 2 hash marks on the x-axis. So that's the x-coordinate. Let me put in 4 hash marks on the y-coordinate. So this is what you're going to do if you're drawing it freehand. You know, it doesn't hurt to actually draw the hash marks on the x-axis parallel with the y-axis, although here it doesn't make that much difference. And the hash marks, the scale marks on the y-axis kind of parallel with the x-axis. It's not required, but it doesn't hurt to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I need to go up 3 for z, right? So 1, 2, 3. So what I would do first is get the ordered pair 2, 4 in the xy plane to start with, and draw it as like the corner of a rectangle or a box. So what you want to do is from the hash mark of 2 on the x-axis, go out parallel with the y-axis with a dotted line. Well, okay, that's not the straightest line in the world. So kind of try and keep that dotted line parallel with the y-axis. I'm just eyeballing it. It's not going to be perfect. Until you get out a distance of what you think is 4, you actually have to go past the hash mark of 4 here because we're trying to draw this with some perspective in mind. And then, so that's kind of the lower edge of a box, okay, a 3-dimensional box perhaps. And then at the y equals 4 scale mark, go out in the first quadrant in the xy plane, go out with a dotted line parallel to the x-axis. So, and again, I'm just eyeballing it. It's not going to be perfect. So where these 2 lines cross, that would be in the xy plane, that would be 2, 4, where the 2 lines cross. And then what you want to do, since z is positive 3, you want to go up from that point in the xy plane. You want to go up a distance of 3 from that point. So we know what a distance of 3 looks like. It looks like that, right? And you want to take that distance and go up that distance. So I'll do it in green here. So again, I'm eyeballing it, but I want to make, so I'll put it here. I want to make this distance the same as this distance. But of course, if you give it perspective, this point, if you're looking at it as a flat picture, this point will be lower than this point. But this distance from the xy plane will be the same as the distance this hash mark is from the origin in the xy plane. So you have to kind of imagine it like this is the top corner of a box. Now, I realize that if you were an artist, you probably wouldn't be taking Calculus 3, right? You know, sometimes we get people who are good at drawing pictures and good at math, but not usually. So you don't have, this is certainly not a work of art that I've drawn here. It's works, but it's not a work of art. I don't expect you guys to draw works of art either, but make an attempt to make it look like it has some kind of perspective. Now, the graph paper can be helpful, right? The graph paper can be very helpful. So 2, 4, 3 on the graph paper, okay. Over, what, 2? On the x, and then out 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's still a good idea to draw the edges of your box. So 2, and if I counted right, that should be the 0.24, right? And then I need to go up 3. Well, I still have to decide what distance 3 will be. So here in this picture, I'm gonna make this distance a height of 3. And I just want to try to go up that distance vertically from the 0.24 in the XY plane. Does that look about right? Pretty close. Draw a big dot there. And then that's the corner of your box, which is the 0.243. Does that make sense? Kind of easier to do if you had the graph paper ahead of time, isn't it? Now let's do the one with the negative. It actually has 2 negative coordinates. It's kind of hard to see the -4 here. Let's do that one on the graph paper too, because it's easier, like we said, it's easier to use graph paper. So let's go, where do I go on the x? How far out? 3, -1, -4, so 3 on the x. 1, 2, 3. I'll draw that hash mark. And then -1 on the y. Which way do I go? Kind of that away. So that would be -1 on the y-axis right there. So where do these guys meet? Oops, kind of got off in the wrong direction there. So these guys meet. So where do we find the 0.3 -1? At the corner of these line segments, right? Which is really easy to draw here. So out 3, -1 on the y, but that's not the point we're interested in, right? Where do we want to go from there? That's like now one of the top corners of a box if you drew the full box. And then where do we want to go from there? Down 4 units. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I know this is what I'm calling 3 units up here. So I'm just going to try to make it look like it's a little further down, maybe to there. That's probably too far. So I'll just make if you think you went too far, just draw a bigger dot, and then you'll hit it. You'll hit where you're supposed to be, right? If you make the dot big enough. Okay. Now you do want to include these dotted line segments because it does help give it some perspective.